I'm Coach Steven Tower. I'm the assistant at Classen SAS. I do one-on-one trainings in boxing and soccer. You're watching the Mas Futbol Podcast.
Yo, welcome back to the Mas Futbol Podcast, the #1 soccer podcast here in Oklahoma City. I am your host, Ricardo Ulloa, and I am here recording at Legacy Real Estate Group. Shout out to the sponsors. You know what they do. If you're looking to buy, sell, invest in a house, hit up my aunt, my uncle. They're the best in the business. But on top of that, I do have another announcement. But first, let's just get to the important stuff. Because I do have a special guest here with me today. He is what I want to call, secret weapon for Classen SAS. My friend, Steven Tower. How are you today, man?
I'm great. Thank you for having me again.
I appreciate you for coming on. It's been a crazy weather week, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. For 2 weeks in a row now, I feel like
we were just on at least the good end of it. Like, it could have been a lot worse.
Definitely. At least it was just a couple days. And it's honestly kind of nice because I know a lot of kids have been working really hard. So just get a little break, you know, and then come right back. That's kind of nice for them, too.
It was nice. I mean, I sure wish my 5-year-old could have gone back to class, but it's all good. It's all good. But I don't know if you knew before we jump into the podcast, but, dude, we have a merch store now. So we're selling merch. We have T-shirts, we have tank tops, we have hoodies, and you can find it all on the masfutbolpodcast.com. So, I mean, I definitely just wanted to plug that in right before we started recording. But I'm going to hopefully put out some more gear. If you want to find a way to support, that's honestly a really good way. If you buy anything, send us a picture. I'll share it on the podcast. I'll shout you out. Check out the merch store, masfutbolpodcast.com. What do you think about that?
Man, make sure y'all get that merchandise quick and buy it up because I'm telling you, you know, we love the Mas Futbol podcast. We're going to be buying, my team and me and you know, my friends. So to those out there that are listening, it's quality merchandise and make sure you buy it because we're going to be buying some up.
Dang. I appreciate you. But let's jump into the podcast.
Sure.
For the people that don't know you, can you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about what you do?
Definitely. So I'm Coach Steven Tower. I work as the assistant at Classen School of Advanced Studies, Classen SAS. I just recently started there last year, working for Mateus. Myself, I'm from Dallas. I grew up playing down there in the club systems, you know, for a variety of teams and coaches. But I ended up leaving high school and going here to Oklahoma Christian University to play, and I loved it here. So I've just found a home. You know, I took a extra, you know, year or two, just, you know, make sure I get all my studies taken care of, get my priorities right. And, you know, I've had a up and down ride while I'm here with soccer. And you know, right now I'm just really loving it. And so I'm also doing one-on-one trainings. Mm-hmm. And I think it's been, you know, really helpful for me because that's where I feel like I make the most impact on a smaller, you know, 1 to maybe 3 players max level. And so for me, I've been incorporating that. I just started that, you know, maybe half a year ago, and it's been going really well for me. So right now, that's kind of all I'm doing. I do a little boxing as well.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's a big part. And I know this is the Mas Futbol Podcast, but, you know, I find boxing serves me really well in my soccer, you know, work. So that's a big part of my life. I work at Tracy Sneed Boxing we're off of Reno and Sooner, over there in the Del City, Oklahoma City edge area right there. And we've just recently opened up. We're still doing some maintenance, so we won't be officially, you know, opened up for here for just a little bit. But, you know, right now I'm boxing training, soccer training, and then I work with just this one team.
Nice, dude. I like that. Well, kudos to you, man. That sounds like you're doing some good stuff.
Thank you.
Well, let's start from the top. You're at Classen SAS, right? And there as an assistant coach?
Yeah, so I'm an assistant. I actually came on as a volunteer at first, and kind of the reason why I did that is, you know, I don't want to go on here like some high school hero, you know, vibe. But at the end of the day, I had a great time playing with my high school team. And it goes way back. Like I said, I'm from the Dallas area. Well, I came from a school that was extremely talented down there. I made a lot of good friends. And we actually ended up winning back then there was no 6A, there was just 5A. Well, we won the 5A state title.
In Texas? Wow.
And then the next year we made it right back to the final and ended up losing. Now, and I'm not an excuse maker, nothing like that, we lost. But obviously, you know, everybody kind of like, oh, you know, this and this and this. But no, so I had so much fun, you know, being there and we're on a nationally ranked level, you know, went to play, I don't know if you've heard of them, but Montverde Academy. Out there in Florida. And they were undefeated for about 5 years, I think, something like that. Yeah, they were the ESPN #1. But they flew us out there, and we got to play them. I think I played them 3 times in my high school career.
No way.
Yes, sir. And they beat us all 3. But
Damn.
it was the experience was something that I'll never forget. And so if I can be a part of this high school team's experience to, go achieve something that they want to do with their life and perhaps, just influence them in a positive way, that's really what my mission is here at Classen, I think.
Nice. And it's a good school.
Classen
SAS is great, and they're all for basically everything they seem to be doing, whether it's band, cheer, football, basketball, soccer. So I think you're in a good program, and with a good coach too. Mates, shout out to Mates.
Shout out.
So you guys sound like you're pretty excited. I think this year is going to be a good year with it being Mates, the second year, your second year as well.
Yes.
So you're getting everything out of the way. You've already put your foot down, set a culture, and now you're kind of building on it. Do you guys have any expectations for the year, or what is it looking like? What is practice looking like? Because it started, December 1st?
Yeah.
How is the season going?
So I'll just give you like a general, brief general description of our expectations, because we kind of have like a broad expectation and then a very, a day-to-day kind of expectation. But in our broad expectation, me and Mateus had what we call our 3-step plan. And wherever we go, I'm not saying this and that, but at any level, you have to have a plan for the team, and everyone's story is different, because Classen SAS, when we first, we first got to them, they were losing, 7-0, 8-0, and it's funny, one of the games they lost, they didn't have enough players that showed up, so they lost. And so already you have a culture issue, you have a mentality issue, you have all these issues. So we just had to keep it simple. We didn't want to climb the whole mountain one day. So our 3-step plan was the first year, we're going to start being competitive. There's no more 7-0. That's not me. That's not Mateus. Anyone who knows us knows that's not us. So our first year, we want to be competitive in every game. Even if we're losing, okay, but as long as it's not, blowouts, that's acceptable with me, because it shows that we've taken a step forward, and we're not going to limit ourselves there. Because again, we can exceed expectations always, of course, but just setting that expectation there that's where we want to get. And I felt like we accomplished that last year. Now we were a point or a game away from the playoffs, and with that comes anyone's chance. That is one game at a time at that point. So, but the fact that we were just so close to knocking on the door from a school that was honestly getting kind of embarrassed, before we were not letting that happen again. So then it comes to the second part of our plan, right? Now that we're competing in every game, we're going to start winning these games. These small games like last year, and, it's kind of funny because, everyone knows Clinton, like you had the...
I guess 4A or...
Yeah, 4A. And you guys had the Chickasha staff on here as well, and we're talking about the C rivalry between them. Well, I just like to add another C in there, the Classen SAS.
Yes.
Just go ahead and throw our name out there, And I don't mean it in a disrespectful way or anything. I just love the competition. And last year, look, the year before we lost to Clinton 8-0, and last year it was 3-2. They beat us, and it came in the last 10 to 15 minutes of the game. It was 2-2 for a good little second. So that's why I in this level, I think anyone can beat anyone on the given day. But our goal is to start winning these close games, because now that we've accomplished competing, now we have to accomplish the winning part. But, you're still going to drop some games, and it's life, we're on a plan, right? So then that brings to the third plan, we're going to dominate. Because at that point, now you're winning, and you've got a feel for like what winning is like. Now you need to do that consistently, right? You need to bring that, really consistency, because there's no other word for it. If you have a day off, you can drop points, but that's to a team that maybe you really should have beat. Well, now when you go into these hard games, now it's a must win, because we lost points, and you're just kind of making it difficult for yourself. So if we can avoid that and just bring the consistency going forward, that's our 3-step plan. Compete, start winning, dominate.
So what about the more specific plan?
So on this one, we just try to focus on what we can control. And I know that sounds really cliche. It's kind of what everyone says, but it really is true. It's difficult to do on a really specific level. It's actually very difficult to do, because people don't think about it. There's a million things out there that can just take you a split second off your focus, and that could be the difference. Because here's the thing, like I'm going to break this down on a what I say is like molecular level of soccer. And so let's say somebody's not focused in one talk of the coach during the training, and they miss some important information, like maybe they didn't hear this week, we have to, force them to the left. or force them to their left side. They can't cross there. I'm not saying this just in general, right? Yeah. Or he said, look, we want to hold our position wide, right, this week. Well, the kid's not listening, and he missed one moment in training. He was 99% of training. He was great. But he missed one moment in training. Now in the game, he doesn't check wide. The ball doesn't go. We don't serve. We don't score. One moment in the training caused that. Now, of course, and we're not coaches to repeat stuff. We don't like getting. We like application. That's a big thing for me. Like personally, is application. And the reason I say that is that's a skill that you can practice like anything else. Like you do a scissor, well, you can practice applying things. You have to have that ego breakdown to where you're willing to try in the game. I have a striker that I train, right? And we were watching Ronaldo, the old Ronaldo, R9.
The good one.
The phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
And so one thing we saw him do, we loved it, is when he's dribbling around the keepers. He's faking these shots because there's a different, strikers finish is what they do.
Yes.
But he was the phenomenon for reason. He was beautiful. And when everyone, the whole world, the World Cup, that everybody in the whole world would think here he's gonna strike the ball, goes around the keeper, finish easy. No one in the world stopping it, and that's the kind of goals that I like, the easy. Well, I asked my striker, let's practice, let's try it. So we're working and we're working and we're working. Well, the last part is application, because I can show you this 100 times, but if you don't have the courage to even attempt it in the game,
what's the point?
You'll never do it.
Yeah.
So I get some feedback from him, right? And he's like, the next game, he's like, coach, I tried it. And then I'm waiting. I'm like, well, he's like, it worked,
Dang, there you go.
Yeah. So that's my thing. Application is something that you can practice like anything else, because I've seen a lot of coaches tell these players this stuff, but then you see these players in the game and they're looking lost,
Yeah. Well, I guess sometimes they're a little afraid to make the mistake in a game that might cost them, or they might get pulled out on it. So I can definitely understand why sometimes it might be a little hard to apply it than in others. But you said it best. I learned better by applying what I just read and just trying to do it afterwards, because if not, it kind of, at least for me, slips my mind.
No, absolutely. And kind of just wrapping it all around back home, because you asked about the expectations of the day-to-day. So we talk about that one moment, that can lead to the application, which can lead to all this big things, right? Well, in that, for us, our daily expectations, not only just to control it, but just to be locked in, because it's kind of like a trust thing in our opinion. If the boys trust me and Mateus to fully prepare them for what the season's going to be, then show us that you trust us by listening, because it's kind of like, I learned this in boxing, and it's kind of good that this came up, because I really did want to talk about this. It's something in boxing that I learned, is that the coaches are so important. And we were talking about the relationship between, some players can't grow under a certain coach, and then they'll go to another and be great, absolutely. And just the situation. So for us, if you feel like we can prepare you, it's kind of like you have to show us that you trust us by being locked in, and really because if you feel like you don't need us as coaches, that's okay. We can go somewhere else, or you can go somewhere. It's just one of those things. I'm not afraid to say that. It's like, I might not be the best coach for everyone, but I know that if we do have a chemistry and it's working out,
but you still have to put in the work. But you still have to put in work. Just because you don't think I'm a great coach doesn't mean you should not put in the work.
No, absolutely.
I hear you. What are some of the similarities that you've seen between doing these soccer trainings and boxing? What are some of the traits that are hand in hand with them?
Man, a lot of stuff. It's actually, the mentality is really what's changed the most for me, because a lot of times, especially in the youth level, you see a lot of players that are scared to go get the header, or get in that 50-50 tackle. And I think from the boxing, I've learned it's just not so bad as you think. It's kind of one of those things. It's like a little old saying they have in boxing. Make your hand hard when you punch. And what they say is if your hand's all weak, it's gonna get hurt. If you're trying to punch through a wall, if your hand's softer than that wall and you're all loose, you hurt your hand. But then if you make that rock solid, then you have a much better chance of going through the wall. Well, that's the same thing.
Or if you don't hit a stud, that also makes a difference.
Big absolutely. And so with the boxing, it's kind of just showed me. It's it's kind of funny. Before I used to love the players like Neymar and all this stuff, but now after I bring this boxing mentality to soccer, I've started to value players more like Wayne Rooney, and Didier Drogba, and some of these players, their mentality. Yeah, like for me, I remember one of the moments of soccer I'll never forget was Drogba against Bayern Munich, the header, and then almost giving up the game, but then scoring the winning penalty, and then Wayne Rooney. My favorite moment of all time in soccer is DC United. Whenever Wayne Rooney tracked back, and I'm actually a Dallas fan, so I don't DC United, but then as he tracked back and made this tackle, and then made that long ball, and wow, at his age, at his he's not a DC, like he's not he is a legend there, obviously.
But what a play!
Yeah,
just the end of the game.
He didn't have to do that, and he did that.
Nice. I definitely want to go back into the boxing because I'm very interested in the boxing. I want to eventually pick it up as a training because I think it's a great way to do some cardio. But I mean, in the self-defense area as well. But I'm so scared to get hit in the face, man. Like, I guess that's part of it. Goes back to what you said. Is like, I don't want to get hit, but you're doing boxing, so eventually you're gonna have to get hit.
You can't swim without getting wet.
Can't swim without getting wet, man. So what do you tell people that are just getting into boxing and they're just like, yo, man, I don't know if I'm ready to get in the ring?
It's kind of like anything else. Like you wouldn't. I mean, you can play soccer, as a kid and everything else, but you wouldn't take a kid who's like, think about this, like and this will tie back into the boxing, obviously, but a club coach is not going to take a kid who just came out of like the rec and he's not quite up to the club level and all this. He's not going to throw him in the fire. Like, he might let him play a little bit, but he's going to get him up to speed.
We're not going to let you box a pro, Ricardo. You're
yeah. Oh, well, I mean, we got some guys that might come. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, I mean, but sometimes sometimes the challenge must be taken to figure out where you're at. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way of life. I've been reading a book, and one of the things that I've been able to pick up from it is how important it is to have enemies. Because iron sharpens iron. You said it yourself. I'm going to throw another C in here, and because that's going to make you guys better.
Absolutely.
Even if whether that's just iron sharpens iron. You guys might get punched in the face, but like you're eventually going to learn how to give one. So
you talk about like going into boxing. So for us, we just kind of start out with the basics, right? Like a foundation, and that's the same for any sport. If you start out with a saying that this boxing coach I learned from, he said, start slow, end on go. Start fast, end up trash. So like I start with stuff that's like, can you pass the ball? Can you take small and big touches, with both your feet? Can you use the sole of your foot? A lot of these things, do you have a first touch? A lot of these things that people, just assume it's like it comes with this, you got to practice. It's a skill. I don't consider myself a fitness trainer by any means. Like it would take a special offer for me to just train someone like fitness. But as far as like skills and actually like understanding, the sport of boxing and soccer, that's I think where I specialize. It is breaking things down and helping, like I said, that application, from my training onto the pitch. Because I tell my kids, like we both got a little, you want to get better from me, but I want to see you do the things I say in the game, and your parents are watching, they have expectations too. So, they want to see it.
Yeah, high school's such a funny age, because they're at it's such a weird age, to be at. Some like it, some don't. Some are just there for like whatever. But when is the first game for Classen SAS?
February 16th. Against Santa Fe South JV.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
But it's just around the corner. It's basically 2 weeks from now.
Week and a half
from now?
It might not be, but I say it is just because I'm ready.
That's crazy. And you guys obviously want to take state, right?
I think that's I think we could say everyone around wants to take state. My thing for this year, like we said, like we're on our plan. So again, we have our expectations, but it'd be nice to come get a little revenge tour. I mean, we lost some games. I don't think that, if we played them 10 times, I don't know that it happens the same all the time. So I'm ready to find out.
Who's in your district?
So we have the tough district. We have Clinton. We have Elk City. We have Harding, Aztec, Woodward, Weatherford. I know. I could be forgetting. I could not, because that's 7 right there, and I think we're the 8th.
It's a tough district.
It's serious over there.
Nice. And then another team that surprised me last year was Harding too. They seemed to have a good year. I think they made it to playoffs, didn't they?
Oh yeah, I know they did. I don't remember who ended up catching them in the playoffs, because obviously I think Clinton won last year.
Yeah. So they're on the 3-peat now, Clinton.
Man, I'm not sure. I don't put too much. I just got here. I don't put too much weight in that stuff.
No, of course not. But they are the ones to take down, right? And at least the 4A.
No, absolutely. Like I said, I want to throw our name into the C hat. Yes.
Chickasha, that's Chickasha and Clinton final now. We have Classen SAS. Nice.
Definitely.
Dude, that's exciting. What's the atmosphere like at school? Is everyone else excited?
Oh yeah. You can tell because it's kind of like Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
honestly.
Yeah, the
right
closer it gets,
Christmas.
the more antsy you get. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of ironic because I tell the boys like make sure you're getting as much rest as you can get now and all stuff. But I think it's like a little like anxious at night. Like I'll be thinking about this stuff. The game's coming up, and all this and that. It's really exciting.
Where does Classen SAS play? Where is home for Classen SAS?
So we have a variety of fields that we can get on. So we sometimes play at Miller. I think last year we were mainly at Taft, but I think this year we had just one game lined up there. Mm-hmm. But Miller is an excellent stadium with great grass and
Douglas High School.
Yeah, I appreciate them letting us get out there. So
shout out to the Douglas High School coaches, Mario and George.
Yeah, definitely. I got to meet. I don't remember because it was a brief and I was just the assistant there. I went to the meeting for the ACAC, the where the coaches vote, and I just wanted to kind of sit in and be there with Mateus. First year we didn't know what to expect too much, and so I got to meet a couple other coaches. They're great people, people.
George and Mario, they're assholes, dude. I'm kidding. They're great. No, I'm just kidding. They're great. They're great. It's always curious to me what those type of meetings are like. Because everybody's there, all the coaches are there, and you said at first it's your first time showing up. Because I used to ask Paulo when he was the Bishop McGinnis coach and what it was like for him to show up as the assistant, then as the head coach. Because it's kind of everybody's there doing the same thing, scouting, just looking at people, and it goes, oh look, there's the Santa Fe South coach, there's the the Capitol Hill coach, there's Piedmont, so it's kind of funny just to get everybody just in there. What was it like for you?
It's actually really interesting. It's really cordial. Really nice. Yeah,
it must be fun. It must be really fun.
I wouldn't go that far.
No, you don't think so?
No, I mean, it was a great experience to meet these people and everything else. But at the end of the day, it's still a meeting. We're in there talking about different players and all this. So I wouldn't go as far as to me like we were all like, hanging out, but just talking about the stuff that we're passionate about. Like if you have a player that you believe, deserves this award and all this stuff, like you do your stuff and present your best for him and so that's why I say it's kind of cordial business because,
honestly,
you have a case to present, but at the end of the day, you're in a great group of people that, it's not like, anyone's in there thinking like my player deserves this over your, it's actually a really great group of people that want success for each other and each other's players. Because here's the thing too, is they represent Oklahoma City.
Honestly. Yeah.
So, and especially with OKCPS and, ACAC. So these kids that's going on, I love to hear their stories. Like, my goal for my players, like I'm not a coach. See, Mateus, he's a head coach. His business is winning games, and he's great at what he does. Tactics, he's great at what he does. For me, my business is development. That's always been my thing. I'm skills. I love the winning. Winning is what I love. Winning. Don't get me wrong. You can't be in this business.
That's a side. That's like a side result from you doing what you're doing at the best of your ability. Like if you're training your kids, making them better, they're gonna win. That's just a side project. But you're strictly on improving.
And we talked about boxing. That's kind of where the boxing came into play. For me, I treat this off season like a boxing camp. Right? Like in boxing camp, you have 3 months. And then you fight. And it doesn't matter after that 3 months after that the time for talk is over.
February 6th, it's time to fight. February 16th is coming.
That's tight. Yep, the time for talk is over. So
love it.
It's just one of those things that's like we know that's like we're not like it's not forever.
Yeah.
Especially think about the seniors too. Like
honestly,
like it's like a retirement fight almost. Like they're trying to give everything they have one last time. And maybe they go on to play college right now. I don't think that the seniors are interested. That's why I say that in playing college. I think they want to go enjoy their lives, and I'm very proud of them for that.
But that's tomorrow. That's later on. Yeah. Our fight's coming up.
Yeah, and so for right now, we're in the trenches, giving everything we have.
Boxers don't think about what's going on tomorrow when they got a fight going on, do they?
Absolutely, and it's not promised. And that's one of the things that's like the seriousness that I think me and Mateus have brought here is actually a boxing mentality, because it's like there was a quote in soccer even that was like, some people say soccer is life or death. Well, I say it's more than that. And so boxing, it's like if you lose, you don't go home in the car with your parents talking about like, dang mom, I didn't win. Like, no, you're in the hospital talking about like, doctor, where am I? And it's serious. Like for me as a coach, I don't just let people, like we're talking about, go in the ring, because I don't want them getting hurt. First and foremost, safety is always been my biggest thing, soccer and boxing.
If you throw me in the ring with somebody and you don't throw in the towel and I'm getting my ass whooped.
Yeah, that's a terrible look.
I'm gonna be like, what the heck?
I've seen it a lot, and you'll be surprised. Like, you see, even on the professional level, because and that's the thing too. I've learned is how to be humble about being tough. I'm not saying I'm sitting here like, I'm the toughest guy out here, but basically, like, you see a lot of these guys they want to go out on their stool, and there's respect in that, in a form, because you see these guys like giving everything they have, and
there's a tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you see these young guys like one of my favorite boxers from Oklahoma City now, Alex Saucedo, and he took a lot of hits, and I enjoyed watching his fights. He put on spectacular performances for the entire city, the
Remember
country.
when he fought here in the city? That was a brawl.
Yeah.
And he came out top of it. But it's kind of like with the football players. Like, you take a couple too many cracks, and eventually you have to start asking yourself the questions like, is it worth my future? Like, can I? And that's just the unfortunate side of like those type of sports. But sometimes, dude, like, you want to be put in those situations where you get knocked down and you have to get back up. And
absolutely.
You want to get on top of that story. Sometimes it's not worth it, dude. Unfortunately, we all know that story. I forgot what his name is of the most recent boxer. That's just, he doesn't have a life anymore after too many hits in the head. And
yeah, I've seen that. It's Pritchard Cologne, and what happened? He got hit in the back of the head. It was actually illegal. You have a mohawk strip on the back of your head that is illegal to hit, and he got hit too many times there, and he's in recovery, very serious brain damage, but all my best wishes to the champ, but it's just one of those things. It's like it is illegal, so that really shouldn't have happened in the sport, but that's one of those things that's like, it kind of, when you see these moms and these dads and these people talking about like boxing is so dangerous and all this stuff, like, you see the reality of it without always the context.
That's true, because I mean, soccer is dangerous too.
Absolutely.
People are having conversations about taking headers out of soccer, which sounds blasphemous to me, but I mean, it just all goes back to that same question that it can be dangerous.
Absolutely.
But to switch it up, because it got kind of dark.
Oh, yeah.
You were talking about Saucedo. Like, what have you got to see him box?
Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm a fan. I think he works in a gym around the area still, and I don't know necessarily all what he's up to. I've seen like some of his videos of training. I'm just a coach, a young coach in boxing, and I still have a lot of respect for these guys that are doing it way bigger than me, and he's one of them. So I just like I said, it's just, I'm just honest. One of the byproducts of going to war in boxing is, you will take damage. You see a lot of these like Muhammad Ali and these champs. But with that said, it also is spectacular performances. Like, I know that I loved watching because I knew something spectacular, a great battle was taking place. Between two men with vigorous wills that want to compete.
Clash of wills, man.
Absolutely.
And the beauty of those type of sports is that it's just you and the person in front of you. Yep. I mean, sure, you have the coaches on the side, but at the end of the day, it's your will against his, and your skills go hand in hand with it. But who's gonna buck first?
Absolutely.
And dude, I've never been in a fight before, but my respects to the people that put themselves in those situations.
One of the quotes that I was just reading last night, funny enough, was from Mike Tyson's trainer, Cuz D'Amato, and he said that if two guys have even skill, the will win. Whoever's will is greater. And will usually beat skill if the will is great enough, the only exception is if the skill is so far greater than the will that the will was not even tested.
Damn. That's a bar.
Yeah. He was an incredible, like, he a lot of people don't know with Mike Tyson's trainer because they see this, like, great peekaboo style and all this and that, but he was more a mental trainer than anything else, to hone Mike's brain and his mindset. And
talk about honing a mindset like Mike Tyson's. You get a beast, and you just are. And he talks about it. Mike Tyson has talked about how the trainer just knew ways to trigger him at the right time. It's like he'd get on the ring, and it's like just unleashing a beast, and then just trying to contain it afterwards.
Yes,
dude. My respects to Mike Tyson, dude. But imagine being the trainer of Mike Tyson. Like, aren't you ever afraid that eventually, like, it'll turn? I don't know. It's just, it's crazy.
No. And why I say this is because, like I was talking about earlier, and my thing is this: I'm not forgetting coaching. Like, if any of my players, they want to leave me, okay, you know, and the reason I say that is because, like, I know that if I got another kid that's willing to put in the work, I'm not saying that I'm the world's greatest trainer, but I can make him a better player.
Honestly.
You know, so, and one of the greatest boxing coaches of all time, I'm forgetting the name. I believe it was Eddie. It could have been Eddie. I'm not sure, but basically he would keep his bags packed in the gym, ready to go every day. Bags packed already. And if any fighter that he was working with decided that they didn't want to listen, that they want to do their own thing, that, you know, they didn't want to put in the work, anything like that, his bag's already packed, grabbed it, he's gone. You know, he's not working with you. You know, and soccer, that's kind of like, for me, we were talking a little bit about it, but I take Classen SAS as my team. It would have to be a great offer to get me to another team.
Really?
Unless Mateus went, nah, I'm not going. And the reason being is because I love my Classen SAS team. Don't think any of these words are about them, because they're not. I wake up every day with a smile on my face knowing that these are the boys that I get to coach, and they're a spectacular group. But they are the only team that I'll coach.
Nice.
I just, you have guys this is for every team in the entire world. There's guys that care more, and there's guys that care less. And you can start to see over the year, you know, guys that care more and the guys that care less. And for me, I've always enjoyed working with the guys that care more. And I think every coach out there can kind of say that. And so for me, I don't have with teams, you have to get everyone to buy in, yes, but it's definitely more difficult, you know. It's just more difficult than the, you know, because the guys that are seeking you out 1v1, they are really interested in bettering themselves. They're seeking you, you know. And so, and vice versa, you guys have, like you mentioned earlier, you have guys that want to be a part of this program, but they might not have known when they first came, you know, how much is really expected in this program. And now they're kind of getting through it, but, you know, this and that. Or you see some guys that's like locked in whenever the coach is speaking, the eyes. For me, I'm a trainer that watch the eyes. I watch the eyes and the warm-up. That's my two big things. If your eyes are not locked into the coach when he's speaking, like if you're watching a movie and you're on your phone, how are you going to know what the movie's about? Yeah. You know, you might hear some stuff and be like, yeah, he said this, but you're not going to know what the movie's about. Like if I ask you, you know, something about it. But that's the same thing when the coach is speaking. I watch the eyes and I know, okay, like I see, you know, the shoe will be there whenever he finishes, you know. And we talked about earlier the one moment in the application and everything else. So for me, this stuff kind of compounds. So that's why I watch the eyes like crazy, because I gotta know you're locked in. You know, I gotta know you're locked in.
I like that. Watch the eyes.
And then the second thing is the warm up. Because like think about this. Like if I put a group of 5 players and I told them do a rondo and we watched and then, you know, they were pretty good, but they were like just, you know, doing
it just wasn't as sharp as it usually is.
And it's not even about necessarily like sharpness only, because I don't really care.
What I mean is like they could be doing it better. Yes. They could make the passes sharper. It could look crisper.
You could be on the toes. You know, you could be communicating like already in just the warm, or you know, you see guys like kind of pulling the knee up, kind of jogging through the course, the activation and stuff like this. But then you guys see us like really warming up and like doing the full stretch, holding for the 3 second, you know, every little thing that he's taking care of.
Little things that matter, because it's the little things that'll make the difference when the game is 0-0.
And we talk again about application. One of my biggest secrets is that it's not a big secret. Everyone knows the way you train is the way you practice. The way you play. But at the end of the day, you have to really compare it to the training. Like, how does this part of my training go into my game? And so one thing that I talk about is the warm up. If you have if you have a trash warm up, I tell them this, like, guys, sometimes, you know, our warm, we got to be better in just even the warm up. I'm crazy, I know, but we have to be better. And then they ask me, they're like, you know, maybe coach, like, oh, you know, this or that. Well, I say, well, let's think about it. Last year, did we give up goals in some games in the first 10 minutes, first 5 minutes? Yes, we did. You know, some games did we show up and we weren't mentally ready to go right away? Like, we couldn't flip that switch. We needed our warm up. Yeah, we did. So this year, no, like that's the thing for us too. Is I don't care about mistakes. I care about repeated mistakes. That's a big thing for Mateus too.
Because you're not learning from the one that you make. So if you're repeating it, obviously there's something going wrong.
Absolutely, it's just. I think every coach out there can agree. It's frustrating having I won't mention any names because, you know, this and that. But one Mateus's biggest pet peeve is when kids will go and use the left foot on the right side or the right foot on the left side. Like not when the situation calls for it, but because they feel like it and they're trying to force it, and
that goes back to what you were saying, is going back to the basics during the personal trainings to make sure that ball left, foot left, whatever it is, or, but it's all just goes back down to those basics. Yes. But it's good that they got someone like you that's able to catch that, because you don't seem like the type that's going to let it slip by anyways.
Oh, no. Nice. See, that's again why I think me and Mateus work so well together, right? Is because he's focused on the broad
picture,
and
you're focusing on the detail.
And these
macro,
little things,
micro.
These things that and some of these kids that have never been in the club systems, they played with their friends. They've played for some club teams that just get together and play.
And there's some kids that don't get the club scene, or some kids that this is probably the highest level of soccer that they've been engulfed with. So it's really a hodgepodge of. And that's basically what Classen SAS is too, is a hodgepodge of cultures and people and all that stuff. So, man, I'm excited.
I mean, we got people from all over the city and just all come here. It's a great area to be at, definitely.
Nice, dude. Mateus must be excited.
Oh yeah.
He talked really highly about his year and how he was starting to see the face on the kids, change after a hard game. Even though they lost a tough game, but they started to see that the work was working, and it only got him more excited for next year. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen, and
definitely
probably going to have to pick up back on it after the end of the season, dude. I'm curious to see do you guys play Chickasha? Chickasha isn't in your district, but it's just
that's one that, because they met Clinton, I believe, in the final. Correct.
They did.
Final. Yeah. So that's one that it would have to be later on in the year, or a preseason matchup. But again, too, it's kind of funny. We like playing these big games. Like for us, we love the 6A competition. We love it. And this year, I won't go out there and say what we'll accomplish, because a lot of people say like what they're going to accomplish. I say like how we're going to accomplish it. And I think we're actually going to give a good test to some of these teams out there. So. Really, it's kind of one of those things. It's like I don't want anyone at the end of the year being like surprised. Like if they see, I'm not saying in the state or anything like that. I'm just saying if they see some good upsets this year, or they see some great games, like don't be surprised if it's Classen SAS name on the team sheet. You know what I'm saying?
Because you heard it here first.
Yeah,
love it, dude. Where did the love for soccer and boxing come from?
So both have always kind of been there. Like when I was a kid, my dad put me in soccer at just 3 years old, and it took a long time for me to like. Soccer is one of the things that I developed a love for myself, right? Because I was with my best friends and all stuff, and that's kind of what I stuck around. Like they say, even if you don't really like love something, if you kind of stick around with it long enough, usually you start having fun with it or start enjoying it. Well, for me, I was one of those kids that like 3, 4, 5, I'm picking grass, I'm running off the field crying, and I'm hating soccer. And then even when I was like 8, 9, probably. Then about 10 years old, I had a neighborhood buddy invite me to. Back then it was actually ASG. Associated Soccer. I really don't remember, but ASG is a little local club, but it was coached at the time by Bobby Ryan, BR19, the one from FC Dallas that unfortunately passed away young, and now they have the honor and the banner up there about him, and he was such an impact for us in the club. Great, excellent coach. But yeah, so he was coaching the team at the time, and it was super nice because we were getting coaching from an actual FC Dallas first team player, right?
He knew his stuff,
and he was a great guy. He wasn't one of these guys that's out here, he was really breaking the game down for us and just teaching us. And like you said, a byproduct, because we weren't the Texans, we weren't FC Dallas. We were going up against these teams, and even at a young age,
Solar,
Solar, Andromeda, yes, it's competitive, right? And so we were winning games, not being at these clubs because we were a good group of players that were getting the proper coaching and developing more so than just caring just about winning. And look what happened. We're top of the, not necessarily like winning the league every year, but we're competing, and so that was a big thing from my early age. And then you go like forward and my love just started to continue from there because we're doing great. We're developing, like, it was a great mixture of cultures and kids at a young age, like really, really loving the game. And we had kids, move from Mexico. We had kids from, Japan, all stuff. And they're very serious, even at a young age, about their soccer. So it kind of rubbed off on us. But up until then, I hadn't had it, right? Up until about 10, I had just been kind of, my dad was my coach, which was actually a very good coach for a guy who never played soccer. Very good coach. Very good coach.
Really? What did he play?
Baseball.
Baseball? Nice.
Yeah, but baseball was his thing. But he would draw up these sheets like this So all the dads out there that are listening, this like some free game from Coach right here.
I'm listening.
Definitely, and so one of the things that my dad did that I think anyone can do, and you don't have to be a soccer genius. Like go watch like 30, a highlight, and watch like, okay, you see Messi on the ball and you see him commit a defender. Does he dribble the defender or, pass here, or, what pass does he make? Well, now what my dad would do is go onto the program of the computer and get the sheet and draw up like he would put triangles in for the players, like little marks.
Yeah.
He wouldn't put Messi, he wouldn't put all this, he just put little blues and reds and talk about like, oh, you're here. And he make me like Messi in the spot. He'd be like, you're here. What would be the correct option here?
What's the situation? You're in the situation.
And he didn't know about, soccer, but he watched the play. He's like, okay, Messi did this, or, someone did this, and so he would build these scenarios and these situations.
Decision making.
Yes, and that's what really helped me, because I was understanding the game. Like he wouldn't let me just, okay, go to the next situation. No, like we were gonna sit there and talk about it until I got it right, and I think that's a
good way to attack it too.
Absolutely.
Because that's a different way to attack it. Not many people would think like, what's the first thing I'm going to do? Well, we're going to put you in some situational decision making for soccer instead of just dribbling through cones or whatever like that, which end up in the grand scheme of things being so important is you can have a great touch, you can have great technique, you can have all the fitness, but if the decisions that you make on the field aren't great, like at the end of the day, it doesn't really count for anything.
It's funny you say that because I had a player at Classen. I don't name any names, but he came to me and he's like, Coach, like I feel like I'm in great shape. I'm finishing top 3 at the fitness tests, and my skills are excellent this year. Everything's looking great for me, but then I get in the game and I'm lacking confidence. And I said it's because like the confidence is knowing what to do. Like Neymar has recently come out and said, I play in a flow state. Like I don't think super hard. Like I do it because I know. He has so much experience in the game that he knows. And tying this back to boxing is kind of like Floyd Mayweather. Like in the fight, he can adjust, but he can adjust because he knows what to do on the adjustment. Like he's not just randomly trying something.
These are habits that he's built. Like he's not just reacting on the fly. No, these are habits that his is just naturally reacting to, that he's done thousands of times. And that's boxing and soccer, basketball, tennis. It just habits of doing it over and over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
Dang.
And so we talk about like, Floyd, he doesn't have to think about this stuff. Well, that's kind of like, let's take it back to soccer, right? Well, a winger. So if you're a winger and I'm confident, I know what I'm going to do. I receive this ball, I'm on the touchline out here, I'm wide. I receive the ball on my back foot, my eyes have already up. I see the defender take away the line, boom, cut in hard. I already know. See, I don't have to think twice. And that's where the doubt creeps in. I have to think about, do I want to do the doubt? No, just do it.
It's too much to think
about. Like here's the thing too. You get it wrong, get the ball back. It's only one ball. So if you get it back, they can't score. I'm not. That's a oversimplification perhaps of soccer, but Johan Cruyff said it. There's one ball. You gotta have it. Yeah. So that's my thing. Is like try things. Be creative. I want players that can go on and know the game for themselves, can train themselves, because here's the thing. You see my players see me a couple hours a week maybe. So all the hours that you're not with me, I need you doing something. If you really want to be great, you'll do something. As that goes back to like boxing. In boxing, I don't hold fighters' hands. I have a fighter named Rob Jones. Shout out to Rob Jones right now.
I said I don't name names, but there goes Rob.
Yeah, I gotta name his name. He's a grinder for sure. He's been working. But then with like Rob, I don't gotta hold his hand. Yeah. Like I know if so I'll just give you his schedule. Right, he wakes up in the morning, gets a workout. Comes in the afternoon, gets his more workout. Or IQ, we're watching film, we're doing something, always improving. Well, then comes the evening, he'll work out with me for about like 2 hours, maybe sometimes even more, I don't even know. But then after that, he'll leave again and go to Vaza and do his daily work.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that boxing lifestyle is different, and it's people that do live this lifestyle. So if you want to be competitive, you can't fake it. And that's what I've learned about soccer here is it's like you can say all of the right things, but you can't fake it.
I always recently been laying in my head is like, if you want to be something, you have to take the habits that they're doing in anything. You want to be X, you got to do what X does. You want to be a professional boxer, pick up the habits that the professional boxer does, start implementing them, and your brain will eventually shape you that way. You want to be a podcaster? What do podcasters do? They put out episodes. Start putting out episodes, and you'll eventually just you got to put in the work. Want to be
actually
a pro? Act like a pro.
It's a great point that you say that, because one of the things that I recommend to maybe fathers that don't know as much, or even coaches out there, like a lot of times people don't use the social media correctly. Like a lot of people,
that's the truth for sure. A lot of people don't use it correctly in many things.
So I've started to I let go of my old account of like my personal profile, because the people that's gonna keep up with me are gonna keep up with me. It's nice to people way back and all stuff, sure, but I made a new account for my coaching because it's important to me. I didn't want any distraction, and I wanted to follow these accounts that I could get like
personalized algorithm.
Absolutely.
And not only that, but I understand why you did that, because I did the same thing when I started doing my soccer coaching. I created a Coach Ricardo page because that's like a different side of you, and you don't really want to post your coaching stuff or the new connections you make of coaching to your personal life. Because at the end of the day, you're leaving the personal stuff at home to come do a new you.
I've started to kind of, like, I actually left it completely behind, and I don't make any posts or anything really on that one. So I just have moved forward. But the reason that I did that is because too, I also am concerned about what I bring into my feed. Not just like, because what I've noticed now is everything I see is soccer and everything I see is boxing. But my problem with that is that there's so much corny things out there, like so much bad training, so much not even bad necessarily, but mediocre, right? And it's like yeah, okay, you're training, you're doing something, right? But I see so much bad out there.
Yeah.
Like just stuff that's like, yeah, that's cool, but like
it gets the views.
Yeah, absolutely.
It gets the clicks, so whatever works to get the views, for them. But yeah, I hear
and that's
1,000%.
one of the warnings that I'm still way early in this game and all stuff, but that's just a warning that I'd give to other coaches. It's like, really, when you take drills or things from here, like what you see, really be selective about what you feel like is your style and your quality, like the quality that you put emphasis into, because so much stuff is it's cool, but it's like,
you have to be critical.
Yeah, I can't just be doing everything
take
now.
It and not wonder, what is my team going to benefit from this? How can I tweak this? Because I think that's also an art in how to build yourself up to do anything. You want to be a coach? Well, let's take all the drills that this guy does and just do it exactly like he does and repeat it, but eventually tweak it, make it your own. It kind of goes like with making art. I like to make videos, so I'll take a certain editing style from somebody and eventually kind of morph into what I have as well. But if you're just taking everything and not questioning it, you're in bad territory in anything. Don't believe everything they put on the internet. You have to question anything.
No, absolutely. And one of the things that kind of helps with the filtering out of what I like and don't like is obviously my experience with the game, right? But one of the things that a lot of people put emphasis, like I hear a lot of times, a lot of coaches out there be like, man, I played here and I did this and I achieved this. Like, okay. Yeah, that's cool.
What are you doing today?
But what told me that that's not everything? Like what taught me that that's not what you put all your eggs into the basket for, is that in boxing, some of the greatest trainers of all time, built fighters from scratch to champions, never boxed themselves.
Really?
Swear.
Huh.
Like they might have done some amateur competition, maybe. But a lot of these guys, they never fought pro, never. But what they do is they live in the gym, and they are around excellent fighters, and they're studying from their own perspective right in front of them in the gym for years and years and years.
Well, boxing is so different from soccer. Like in soccer, you get to have a lot of pitch time on top of all the time that you spend on training. But like you said, you're mainly in the gym for camp 6 months out of the year, to only be in the gym for like 24 minutes.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's what I think is like so tripping to me, because you do all of that and a wrong punch can hurt you right before training, a week before the fight, and it's all done. Like that's immense. That's one difference from boxing and soccer that I'm just like, because you can have situational experience by putting yourself on the field, and eventually through all these games pick a few things up, but you throw me in a 12-rounder, I don't know how many 12-rounders I can do. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah, that it's the real deal. Sparring is one of those things that's like, you can come in being in dog shape, like you think you're the most fit, all this, and then you get in there and really you can, but what happens, your adrenaline starts to take over. You don't have that experience, right? And you're kind of nervous, and it's tenfold with boxing because you're getting punched. You're not, passing. The defender's not going to take the ball from you. The guy against you is going to knock you out. Not necessarily in the sparring, but just it's a dangerous sport if you don't know what you're doing. And so that's kind of like we say, swim and don't get wet. Hit and don't get hit. Well, we're not going to just throw you in the pool. There's a moment to dive in, but we're just going to dip your toe in for now. And then after that, we're going to put both feet in and then, waist high. And then now we're throwing you in there. Let's see what happens, right? Yeah. But we're just not going to start out like that. And again, because safety is the most important thing for me, right?
I got some more questions. I'm pulling up my tablet here. And I'm going to ask you some of these questions that I already have written down because I think they're great. And it's the better way for me to get some interesting stuff on here. But what's the most memorable moment for you as a trainer in your, training career?
Yeah. So, actually, it's not necessarily like I say it's the most memorable, but it's not, something so big. Like, it's just something on a smaller that I thought personally was one of my biggest moments. But I trained that striker, Zayden. And one of the things that we were talking about is, man, like I see these kids out here putting their holes. Their feet is about, like their posts are about soccer. They love this game. So they're showing like, I'm training, they're showing. And so we talked about it, but we training all the time. I'll be training. So the thing is, like, if you're already training, you should if it's not going to affect your habits, you're already doing it. Then what's the purpose of not putting it out there? Like, you're going to do it either way. So it's not like we're just doing it to post it because that's shallow, and you'll get found out if you just do that. You'll get found out quick. But we're actually training, so why not show these coaches out there like, hey, I'm working harder than these people, and because he really is. And with that said, we started doing it, and within 2 weeks' time of just starting to post, man, colleges reaching out. They can't talk to him because he's a sophomore, but I've already had colleges start following him on the Instagram, talking to me and Mateus a little bit, all the stuff. And so college coaches, if you're out there listening, start following him, but start getting with him because
what's his handle?
I think it's the real Zayden, the real, and then Xaiden, but I'll have to check it after this. But
gotcha. We'll post it right here.
Yeah, man, that'll be amazing. But he's gonna be one like so his build, because we're from OKC, we know about Daryl DK, great player.
Right.
Well, I'm not in boxing, and I'll tell you why I say this going back to Daryl here in a second. But in boxing, people talk about I want to be the next Floyd. No, bro, you don't want to be the next Floyd. You want to be the next you. Like, you want to take a little bit from Floyd. You want to take a little bit from Mike Tyson, James Toney, Riddick Bowe, all these people, and you want to make your own style. Right, I want to have the jab of Muhammad Ali. I want to have the head movement of Mike Tyson. I want to have the aggressiveness of Sean Porter. Right, you want to take these things. Well, that's the same thing here. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to, like, he has the build and the athleticism of a Daryl DK style player. He really does. But then you go and now we want to take the technique of you had him on the podcast. We want to take the skills of a Dante, and we want the all this and the IQ of so and so, right? Yeah, and we want to build these attributes. I want him to be the next Zayden, but he does have these attributes that you can't buy. Like, you can't buy a good touch, and he's worked hard to get a good touch. You can't buy this athleticism, and he's worked hard to get this athleticism, right? And so it's just one of these things that's like he's done so much right, and he's not faking at all. Like, that you can tell there's kids that will make great strides when they're doing things right, but then you see for a patch they're kind of faking it, and you can tell like you're not improving as much as you were, right? And but for him, he's never once faked it. I'm not gonna sit out here and be like, man, he's but I think he could be an international player.
Is he a junior, senior,
sophomore?
Okay, sophomore. So he still has a while to go.
Yeah, that's what I'm honestly most excited about, and why I believe that he should start seeing opportunities young now, because now you see the game changing. These players are getting opportunities much younger, and he wouldn't be being thrown into the pool. He's already been waist high. Like, we've been training for a long time, and when I see his body type, his physical abilities, we're still working on the IQ, because again, you can't buy experience. Like, when you box, you can't just be a
this isn't
boxer.
Pay for play.
Yeah,
no,
you gotta spend time in that ring learning.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing. Like, you need to spend time on that field, right? And so that's what we're still working on, is getting those minutes and just learning like positioning and things like this. But he's working on his skills. He's great skill, great physicality. the IQ is coming because he has the desire. The desire's there. And at 15, if the desire's there, it'll come. Like, you can't tell me by the time he's 18, 20, he won't know more about the game. You know, so, yeah. I truly believe that if not an MLS Academy, like MLS Next or something like that, I don't know, but I truly believe that a lot of players can go make it pro. I think he can go somewhere.
Nice. Like, well, it's grind time for him. Like, honestly, sophomore and junior year might be the most important. I mean, senior year is also really super important. It's the last one. It's the top. It's what you put the cherry on top of it all. But from what I've been able to hear and learn from the people that I've been able to speak to is that sophomore year and junior year are the years that you grind, and junior year is when you make the connections, and then that senior year is where they're just like, okay, well, let's see if the pick that we've been following is really going to produce for us, and then you get thrown into the freshman year, and it's a whole different ballgame.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but that's good. As a sophomore, I'm excited to see. Now I know who to look out for Classen SAS.
With us.
And everyone else, because it's probably just not him. You probably have a stack full of players, too.
I got... I'll just shout out another player right here. Well, I'll shout out 3 more players.
You don't want to give it away, you know? You did say that at the beginning of the podcast. You didn't want to give out your secret weapons, but, I mean, if they've worked hard for you, give them a shout out, man.
No, for sure.
Let me make sure that this is recording real quick.
Oh, absolutely. So I just wanted to give a shout out to these players in particular because, you know, they put in a lot of work by themselves, you know, making sure they're together, you know, doing just working. But Zayden Elijah was one who was there almost every day. Our goalkeeper is going to be serious because he came in. He's just a sophomore also. Actually, every player here is sophomore, 3 sophomores and a freshman. Really? Yeah. And we have 2 seniors. Yeah.
So it's a young team. So it's exciting what is to come as well. So that's good.
And then so Luke Alexander's going to be our keeper. Mm-hmm. Like on the track that he's on, I have big expectations for him. You know, he sees, you know, goalie coaches on his own. His mentality is aggressive to learning, and he's aggressive at what he wants. Like, for example, we have expectations, right, with individual players. And so one of the things, one of our team expectations, like, I guess going forward for the offense was, like, we want to score 40 goals. And that's a lot of goals,
It is a lot of goals. How many games are you playing overall?
Man, I can't tell you. I don't know. The bad coach bad, but...
No, I mean...
I don't actually know, but...
So on average... I guess that's a one way. I always
like 15 or
breaking
16.
it down. I like so how many games are we playing? How many goals a game do we have to have?
Yeah.
So how many do you think? Maybe 2, 3 goals?
Like 2, 3 a game, but some games I mean I'm not want to sit here and get ahead of myself. I don't want to ever get ahead of myself because we still have February 16th is just a scrimmage, but we're gonna look forward to it. But obviously there are games that's like we feel that we should be putting these teams away, and we need to be collecting points here. So you know some of these games that we might only win 1-0. We might be able to make up for it on some other games, you know, 5-0, 6-0.
But it's just something to hit. We're not going to take it 40. It's like
bust,
40 or bust. No, it's
if we hit 35, we scored 11 goals last year only.
Really?
Only 11. But here's the thing too. So 2 years ago, Mateus and I we showed up, right, and the year before we had given up like 27 goals. Mm-hmm. I think it was 27. This first year that we were there, and because of the work ethic of the boys, again, never us. We instruct and we teach, but again, we've never stepped foot inside those white lines to play for them. Never. Mm-hmm. So those boys themselves, you know, they improved a lot. They did their thing. They went down to 11 goals against only, cut it over half.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
So now we got to fix the other side.
Well, and that's what I was talking about, right? So that's why the strikers have been working hard. The attacking mids, like we know where we're deficient, right? Because we cut down our defense. We did great. We were competitive. You know, we no more 8-0s. The biggest loss we had last year was 3-0. And again, 10 times I don't know that happens. You know, so my thing is like going forward this year, we're gonna fix. Like I said, I don't like repeated mistakes. And if we're not scoring, next year that's not gonna be an issue for us anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, no steps back, only steps forward. So with the scoring, we've been working incredibly hard. I had people laugh at me, man.
No way.
I'm dead ass serious. I had people laugh at me for telling them I wanted to score 40 goals with this team.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, now you know where they stand.
Yeah.
What side of the fence they stand on?
I've never cared. I don't care about this stuff, right? Like I don't care about the persona. Like I don't need the coaches out there to be like, yeah, I love this guy. Like I don't need all that validation. I don't need, you know, this. I want my team to perform. Like I want us to do us. Like, you know, and no disrespect to anyone out there, anything like that, because it's not that. It's just we're competitive. Like we feel like we can do what we can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel so many ways about it, to be honest with you, because you can use it as motivation. 2, who really cares what they think? 3, like I always like shooting high, making high goals, because even if you don't hit 40 and you get 35, is that really not a success as well? You know what I'm saying?
From 11.
Yeah, and then another one is like sometimes you just can't share your dreams with everybody, bro, because not everybody sees them the way you do, and
yeah.
But that's
so
the truth.
With the 40 goals, right? Like we said that, but now what I've started to notice, because it was people that's actually a little closer to me. You know, it's not like it's like I'm going to tell my goals to everybody, right? So
it's always the people that are closest to you. It's always the people that are closest to you that screw you over the most.
Man, but what I've seen now though is that they, like, because of the way we've been working, like, bro, I'm gonna change your mind. I don't care that you think that. Like, I'm gonna get the last lap. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna. That's what we do here. We get the last laugh, but we don't. Like, we don't celebrate it. We don't go crazy, because that's what we're supposed to do. Like, I truly believe that we can achieve this. And so I'm not playing about it. You know, I don't, like, there's a saying in boxing, it's that we don't play boxing. You don't play boxing.
No, you don't.
Like, you play tennis, you play soccer. You don't play boxing.
You can be, it's like there's 2 different type of people, you know, there's soccer players and there's people that play boxing and play soccer, and then there isn't, you know, you don't play boxing. You get,
it's actually one
you get
of
soaked in the
Mateus,
mouth.
That's Mateus' favorite saying.
What?
About kids, like, describe kids. It's like, that's a guy who plays soccer. No, that's a soccer player. It's his favorite saying, actually.
I mean, it's the truth. You can see it, and yeah, I mean, what else can we say?
Definitely, but with that, you know, you have these guys. So these guys that were around me that were kind of like, oh, 40 goals, yeah, right. Yeah. Like, they're starting to come around to where they're like, hey, these guys, like, okay, these guys are they can do it, you know, and that for me is just like. You know, I'm not here to be like, I told you so. I'm not here because that's why I expect to do it. Yeah. You know, that these things that we say, we don't just say it. You know, that's nothing that I'll ever do is just say it. Like, I wouldn't tell you that I think we have a good chance to make a splash this year in the 4A if I didn't believe it. You know.
Dude, well, I can't wait to find out how the season ends.
And it'll look funny if I say all this stuff and then we're out here
get hammered at the end.
Yeah, but nah, man, nah.
Well, it's a marathon, bro, and honestly, like. It sounds like Classen SAS is in a good spot to have a good season this year and even better next year. So, I mean, as long as you guys are still putting in, like you said, the daily grind, that's really what matters, because it's only one day at a time. You know, year 3 will come real quick. But, like, it's kind of, I had the USAO coach. Have you heard that one? The planting daily seeds, and
yes,
man, that one was so good. And it's just kind of just like what he said it couldn't have said it any better, and just planting those daily seeds for the success for tomorrow, man.
So it's kind of funny you say that. I go way I'm from Dallas, but I have a lot of roots in the Oklahoma City area, and that's because with Coach Hampton at USAO, right, his roommate when he was playing was Dave Kunitz, who's now back with the Energy. But for the longest, before he went to Colorado and then back to the Energy, he was in Dallas as my coach. So when Bobby Ryan ended up going back to FC Dallas, he went back to FC Dallas and then had the complications, right? But before he had the complications, he was back at FC Dallas. Well, in that time, Dave Kunitz, who's now again back with the Energy, came in and he was our coach for a long time. Wow. So and he was the roommates. Well, because of that, he was taking us up to the camps up here at USAO, and so it's kind of funny because I had Tom Tipiconic and Troy. They were my camp counselors when I was a youth, and then I come up here and I'm college teammates with Troy, and I'm living with both of them at one point. You know. Like individual times, you know.
It's a small world, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
And I got to play with their youngest brother, Tristan. He's an incredible player. Damn. Don't know what he's up to, but he's a good guy. And then I actually played on that same, I came up here for summer because my dad, he worked at Tinker. So he was up here for a while, and I think he still does. But while he was here in that one summer, I just came up here and lived for a summer. I was out of the Norman area, and so Norman Celtic was, like talking like, let's, come play for us. But then I had, Coach Hampton's team was talking like, come play for us. Cause I knew Mike Loheda was a good friend of mine, and so I actually got to play with Coach Hampton's son Butch. Man, he was a great player too.
Really,
great player.
Man, that's so crazy. It kind of makes me. I don't know. Some people make, I guess, impact. I think impact in life as like a rock that you throw in water and just the big ripples that you make. And some people have made such big ripples that it just affects other people, like the Hamptons or like Harvey as well. And all these other coaches who are just making ripples and ripples and ripples. And you might not think that what you're doing today makes much of a difference. But then when you hear that, like your story, like you just said, and how that ripple from those guys built yours, and now you're building others, and fuck, who's to know like what's to come with the ripples that you're making.
Listen, man, I appreciate that. That's a good thought going forward for myself to, remain motivated and things like that. But another funny story about the impact, right? Well, Dave Kunitz is now back with the energy, and he's so when Bobby Ryan was just leaving, like right before he left, I actually got cut from the team. At the time, I was in the bottom of the 18. Well, I moved down to the second team of ASG, and it's a great team. Don't get me wrong, like, because if you have a great, like, think about this. This is how we describe it. You have a great first team, you're gonna have a great second team because not everyone can play for that team. So that second team's still gonna be a great competitive environment, but you're gonna get like if you weren't the guy there, you can be the guy getting full game. I really believe in that, developing. Because then what happened is I got a couple months there to just develop, and I felt like my confidence regained. I was the guy for a little bit. Well, then I was about to quit soccer though. I felt I was the guy, but I was like, as a kid, the mentality of like, I'm not on the first. I got moved down, and from all my friends, they all know that I got moved down. It's actually a
blow.
Yeah, it's a tough mental battle at a young age. Absolutely, and it's good. I mean, it's good preparation in the long term. But what saved my career to tie it all home was Dave Kunitz, because he took over the team and he saw the potential there. He said he really was like, hey, come back to my team. I think I have a spot for you here. I have a way that I can use you on this team, and you can improve this team. So I came back, and I was about to quit. So he saved my soccer career, and here I am today. So and the funny thing about it, you talk about the impact over time. Well, he had been in Colorado and came home to Oklahoma City, but then just the other day I ran into him over at Sports Center OKC, and I couldn't stop smiling like a kid. Like it took me back, because this is the guy I hadn't seen in a lot of years, but it's the guy that I owe everything in soccer to, because he really saved my career.
You grinded with that guy, grinded with you, and you grinded with that guy. And those are like that's a special bond. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And it takes you back. It's kind of like a food, a smell, a taste. Like you have that, and you're just like, dang, dude, you remember when?
Yep.
Dang, that's crazy. And it kind of brings me back to that conversation that we had at first when we were talking about like priests and not being able to find your space. And you just said, you just got to find the right one. Kind of like a coach. You just got to find the right one. If one doesn't speak your language, like try to find what works best for your situation.
It's kind of, I did take that as well from boxing, because you look at guys and in boxing, they talk about loyalty. Loyalty is everything in boxing, right? Like you see guys, like for example, when Canelo, everyone knows Canelo Alvarez, right? Well, when Canelo fought Floyd Mayweather and he lost, the world was telling him, like, you got to switch trainers. You got to switch trainers. He's not good enough to get you above the level of Floyd. But here's the thing. This guy had been with him since his first day in the gym. And Eddie Reynoso had brought him up from the beginning. Selling popsicles to driving Bugattis and undisputed. How are you going to leave him?
Honestly, and that's such a tough spot, because you leave him, go what? And it happens to many boxers. You leave the boxer, the coach that you've had forever, because of one bad fight. You go to fight another one, the redemption one, probably the most important fight that you're going to have then. And you end up doing worse, and you're just like, shit, I guess the old trainer was better for me than that.
It's a very fine line of the loyalty, because at some point you have to look at it like this. Like, loyalty goes because Eddie Reynoso would know the ins and outs of the Canelo, all this and the,
tendencies, habits.
Absolutely, but sometimes there is like a need to switch.
Yeah.
Like but it's that fine line about like, because here's the thing too. Some kids on the team, this again, we go back to I don't like teams. I only like Classen SAS as my team. But I don't like teams because you have some guys on here that's like, not, doing their thing. But then in the boxing too, it's like, let me take it a little farther back. So we talk about like Ryan Garcia. He was with Eddie Reynoso too, but he just switched over to Joe Goosen and had a much better fit. But at the same, people would like criticize because Eddie Reynoso was the hottest coach out, trainer of the year a couple times, and he trained Canelo.
But who's not to know? Like obviously his main guy is Canelo, so he didn't. Maybe he felt some type of way that he wasn't that guy for that guy.
And you look at like the styles, right? And it's just like Joe Goosen is a much better style coach for Ryan Garcia, and now you look at the way that he's shown in his last few performances, and he's looked actually really good in his last performance. He did that one where it's extremely fast punch. You got to slow it down, and he's made some changes for me, like being now on his front leg instead of his back leg.
Exactly, because that'll cost him, like in that one fight where he got knocked down, and then he ended up getting it, man. That was such a great fight, though.
Excellent fight.
I liked that fight, man. It showed that he had some grit.
Definitely. And people over, and that's what I talk about with social media is you can get like some kind of reputation.
But that's just the razzle dazzle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what sells. Like honestly, like sometimes you have to go a little razzle dazzle just to get that stuff out there, because unfortunately that sells more than the good stuff. So
one of the things that I tell people who kind of bring that point up to me is like they overlook him, because you can't deny what he's accomplished, right? So one of the ones that I talk about is Devin Haney is the undisputed champ at the lightweight division, right? He has all the belts. Well, I know this is amateurs. He can't compare. Amateurs about experience. Amateurs not about winning. It is to a certain degree, but it's win or lesson. It's not win or lose for me in amateurs. Well, Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, who's now the undisputed, they were rivals in the amateurs. Ryan Garcia has some good names on his resume. He beat Devin Haney 3 times. Devin Haney beat him 3 times. I need to see this fight in the pros now. You know what I mean? Yeah. But the fact that he beat the undisputed champion 3 times, 50% of their bouts in the amateurs, and I could be wrong, but as far as I've researched, I'm pretty sure that's what the record is, 3-3, and that's to do that with the undisputed champ now. And yes, you can develop going into the pros because you're not the same. It's much, much, much different. Don't get me wrong, much different. But to even accomplish that,
it's a feat within
you're
itself.
a real boxer. Yeah, you're a real boxer. You can't fake that.
So then let me ask you this: Garcia or Tank?
Wow. So I am going with Tank Davis, but I don't say that with confidence or certainty.
Yeah.
I truly think that now, because of the coaching switch up, I think it goes back to a more 50-50 fight. I'm giving the edge. I say 60-40 Tank Davis because of the styles.
Yeah, it's because the way I see it, Tank can get Garcia's card a lot quicker than Garcia read Tank's card. Does that make sense? Like, I think we
kind of
just like you said, the styles just out. For Garcia being kind of on his back leg, waiting for his opening, Tank kind of does the same thing, but I can see Tank adjusting to that a little bit easier than Garcia.
Tank is Tank has the shorter arms, and Ryan Garcia obviously has the longer arms. So Ryan Garcia's want to be on the front foot, but keeping the distance. He's going to be like with the jab. He's going to be keeping Tank, at bay. He's going to be putting the speed on him and obviously all that stuff, right? Well, but Tank with these shorter arms is going to get right inside and punish him. Because that's where Tank wants to be. He wants to be right inside with him, and where he can put this big power shot on him. And so again, like that's what we say, styles make fights. Like this one for me is a contrasting style fight. Like you have a guy who's trying to keep him away and not let him get close to this knockout punch, but you have a guy who at the same time, like, he wants to get inside and punish you or counter you. He wants to be right there and bang on you. So that's why, like, who's going to do it better on the day? What style will prevail? And that's
coming up, man. It's gonna be a good one.
Boxing's bad. Boxing's getting a lot of times now. You have guys that's like scared, like not necessarily scared. No fighter is like scared of another fighter. Like,
but it almost seems like they're pampering up their resume, and they're being selective about their fights. It's not like this Tank Garcia fight wasn't gonna happen, but it seems like they have, and that's boxing. Anybody does. It's kind of like Canelo too. For a moment, he was kind of just picking and choosing his fights, and yeah, I mean, you have to be smart about it because one fight could ruin your career. And this one, man, whose career would it hurt the most? Garcia if he lost, or Tank's? I think it would hurt Tank a lot more if he lost to Garcia than if Garcia lost to Tank. It'd be the same.
It's roughly about the same because you got to think about the social media era and all this stuff. No one's it's gonna be pretty like you can't. Again, these fighters, you can't buy into this stuff like the comments and all this stuff. So you can't, and because they're gonna come either way. Like if Tank wins, Ryan Garcia is gonna receive all the hate in the world, and we knew it. We knew everyone's gonna act like they were right about him when they know nothing about him. They're just gonna act like they were right about him. But then you have a bunch of guys on the other side that's like they're waiting for Tank. And as soon as Tank goes down, I told you so. I told you so. Blah, blah, blah. But that's good because that promotes the fight. It builds up the fight, the buzz. But at the same time, you have to think like we're on the couches, we're on
and these
at
are
the Buffalo
beings too. You know what I'm saying?
Seriously, somebody's son, somebody's father. Like.
It's a wild world that we live in, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, with that being said, then what do you think about the social media boxing that we have going on? The Logan Pauls, the Salt Bays of the world, the Jake Pauls,
I truly think that there is good and bad both in it because that you can say that for just about in anything. There's good and bad in a lot of
There's
things.
a space for it, I guess,
Yeah. Well, and the good is because of the eyes and the amount of people that it's reached, and I can't say that I don't watch. If Jake Paul's fighting, I'm going to tune in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think when you start taking it a little too far, like now I've heard we're going to start doing, combat matches with multiple people, tag team or, something like this. I'm like,
bro, people are wild.
It's starting to sound like WWE to me.
It does sound like WWE. But like, I think back on it, like back in the day, like with the Romans and how they needed that type of stuff to distract them from the every day to day. And what we are doing now compared to what they used to do back then, I mean, they're probably having those same type of conversations. Like, dude, everybody's just showing up to the ring just to watch a couple people, gladiators, fight it to the death. And
absolutely.
And it's just, I think it's funny how sports is kind of that escape for people, whether it's like watching YouTube boxers fight or some old time boxing fight. We all need it, and it's just good to see that, like you said, boxing is coming back, and it's back.
It does a lot of things for you, and I actually share a lot of boxing moments with like my kids, my soccer kids, because I think it's good for them to see that, to get exposed to that. I don't just show them like the most vicious, all the nastiest stuff. No, I mean, but I teach them lessons from boxing. Like you'll see like one of the lessons I try to teach them right now is like Mike Tyson has these guys scared before they even step in the ring. Now you look at the times Mike Tyson's lost, the guys didn't care about the intimidation. Evander Holyfield was not intimidated by Mike Tyson. And it frustrated Mike Tyson so much that he bit him in the ear. But then, in the same thing, like Buster Douglas lost his mom right before their fight. Buster Douglas did not care one bit about Mike. He didn't care about nobody. He lost his mom. Boom, uppercut, knockout Mike Tyson.
That's true.
Yeah, man, it's the fear. So that's why I'm trying to teach my kids. It's like
the art of war.
Yeah, and again, no disrespect, but you hear these 2C teams, talking about like we're gonna be back and all this stuff. Like, nah, man. Like,
I love how you use that as like a motivation. Like, no.
Well, it's just because one of those things. It's like it's kind of like with boxing. It's like you just said earlier. Like, respect to Clinton for winning 3 times in a row. But I'm not going to call you 3-time champion. I'm going to call you Clinton. And we're going to see you on the field. And I hope you call us Classen SAS. I don't want you to call us that bum team. I don't want you to call us the loser. I don't want you to call us that. You're going to call us Classen SAS. And we're going to call you Clinton. And we're going to meet up and see. Like now I hope these teams do have us on their radar. Because that's the thing. I want their best game. Because we're going to give you our best game. And the thing about it is like, I want to see. I don't want no excuses after the game. I won't give you none. If we lose, we lose. I'm okay. I'm going back to the drawing board, and we're gonna try again. Trust that.
I love it.
But at the same time, like I want to find out, and it's kind of like that's what boxing is doing for me. Because in boxing, it used to be. See, I love the old boxing. I love the '90s boxing. Even before that, but the '90s was my favorite.
I miss the old Kanye. I got you. No, the old boxing is good, bro. I grew up on the Barreras, the Cesar Chavez's, the Golden Boy. De La Hoya coming up. Now it's. I don't miss a Canelo fight, but yeah, the old boxing was great. I mean, but yeah, personally, I don't like to go into like, the old boxing or the old NBA. It used to be a lot rougher. The old days of soccer. It's but it is great to look at.
The one thing I'll say about old boxing versus old other sports it is like people talk about like tougher and all stuff. I won't necessarily say like, all this, but the mentality of like, because you did say it earlier, people are protecting their zero. They're money makers, right?
Back then, they weren't protecting their zeros. They were fighting multiple fights within the year.
Yes.
Not like picking 1 or 2 fights.
They wanted to see who truly was the greatest.
Cesar Chavez was like 80-something and dude.
Yeah,
picking legend. Fights left and right, like fighting 4 or 5 times a day. Like, yeah, I hear you when you say that.
Man, I have another one that I need you to go look up after this, like later today. So people talk about the best Mexican fighter. For me, Finito Lopez.
I'm gonna look it up. I might have already seen it.
Undefeated, great fighter. He's just like in boxing, the little guys, they don't really get too much exposure because it's not big heavyweights slugging it out. So I think the popular division's about welterweight and really lightweight now because you have guys like Ryan Garcia and all these. Lightweight is pretty popular and up, but anything below that, you get some love, but you're not being promoted like a Tyson, like these big giants, right? So Finito Lopez, bro, he's cold.
Finito Lopez, look it up.
One of the best of all time, but people don't really talk about him, so I just wanted to give you that game.
Bet. Well, I think we're in a good place to wrap it up. On a side note, I hope the podcast didn't start any a beef between anybody.
Nah, man.
But it's all. No, I say it in good spirit because it's fun and it's great to see how it's turning into this, you know, it's turning into a community where, you know, we can have some banter and use it positively because, you know, you heard Chickasha talk about Clinton and now you're that grease, you know, that got you fired up and going, now we're in it too. And now let's see who else we can add. But it's great. I honestly love seeing it, to be honest with you. And with that being said, dude, best of luck to you guys this season. And Mateos, dude. I mean, Mateos is great. I didn't know Mateos until I had him onto the podcast. I had ran into him a few times at Western, but like, he's a great guy. And I think you guys are going to do some great things this year. But like I said before, with the more years to come. So, dude.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, especially with so many legends who have been on here. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we'll leave it at that. We have merch. Did you know we have merch, dude? We have the masfutbolpodcast.com. Dude, check it out. Support us, buy some merch. It'd be awesome to see you guys wearing it. But I appreciate you guys for listening. If you guys listen up to this point, appreciate you guys. Subscribe, like. I'm trying to get monetized on YouTube. It's a bit harder than I thought, but the grind continues, guys. This is the Mas Futbol Podcast. Peace.